Right, thank you.
7:30ish, we'll start the meeting. Welcome everybody. Hopefully we'll have a couple of other councillors that join us, but they'll be recorded as soon as they turn up. So just following through on the agenda, item number 1 is to receive any apologies for absence and declarations of interest. Just the one.
So we've had apologies from Laura.
Yeah. Now you've all seen that reason. It's obviously interesting that while a lot of us are just having a nice holiday, others are finding it a bit tough. So she won't be joining us again for this meeting.
Sorry, Graham, can I just say, is that come through in an email? Because I must have missed that.
Yeah, that came through in an email this afternoon, I think.
It is in the supporting documents as well.
With an HCV thing. She sent it through.
Oh, right.
This afternoon. Yeah. Okay, anybody got any declarations of interest for the items on the agenda today?
Not today, thank you.
No. Okay.
Would you like to approve the apologies?
Yes. Can I have I'm like to approve that Laura's absence is justified. Can I have a seconder for that, please?
Here we go.
Yeah, Ian seconding. All in favour? Hands up, hands up, hands up. Yeah, Sharon, are you okay with that? Or you okay, fine. I myself, yeah, that's good. That's unanimous for the 7 of us. Any declaration of interest still? No. Okay, right. Now this is a chance for the the member of the public to say anything. Does the member of the public wish to say anything?
No, thank you, Graham. That's fine. Thank you. That's
fine.
Good.
Okay, that's great. Thank you much. Moving on to the next item, 21-14.
I think, sorry, Graham, I think there is an item that somebody emailed through because they didn't want to Zoom about the trees. It was in the supporting documents that they wanted read out.
Yeah, I've put it in the supporting documents for that item, under that item.
This is the oak saplings. Is that right?
Okay, it doesn't get read now. Yeah.
Are you okay with that, Nicola?
Yeah, it can be read under that item.
Yeah, this is the bit about the oak saplings, the agenda item.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now we'll read it out at the time then. Yeah. I hadn't realised it was for reading out because you would have all seen it, but obviously Andy wouldn't have done. Don't think. Okay. To 21-14 to approve the minutes of the Parish Council meeting held on Monday, 4th of May. Peter's joined us. That's good.
Sorry, I'm late. It wasn't working. It worked yesterday. Today I have to do a download. Or an update, in fact.
Moving on. Yeah, you're here with us. That's good.
Yes.
So the minutes of the meeting you've seen as draft.
Yes.
Are you all happy with that?
No.
Oh.
There was a couple of points.
Yep.
The planning committee meeting. The voting was 6 councillors in favour, 2 abstained. It's only supposed to be the people present at the meeting. Certainly I wasn't present at the planning meeting.
Oh, so this is a reference. Okay, so I was thinking you were, yeah, yes, it was, we actually approved the minutes, didn't we, at that meeting?
Yes.
To receive any calls to approve the minutes meeting. Propose minutes of the planning meeting. So 6 councillors in favour. But you weren't at the meeting at that point, were you?
Sorry, I wasn't at the planning meeting.
Yeah.
Were you one of the abstentions? Because there are 6 members of the planning committee.
I wasn't one of the abstentions either. I just kept quiet, didn't do anything because I wasn't at the meeting.
Right.
Then you abstained from the vote. You didn't vote either way.
Right. Okay. I thought, sorry, I was mistakenly of the belief that the only votes that were counted, either for, against or abstained, were those who were actually present. I didn't realise that it was present at the planning meeting. I hadn't appreciated it was everybody present at the council meeting.
Yes.
It's just a way of making sure that everyone did something at the meeting. So that's why you.
Right,
yeah, okay.
I nodded off at that point.
So that addresses that one. And your second point?
I did actually have a second one. It was, where are we? 1947. and this could just be my brain. It was resolved, and the bits that's in inverted commas, I'm sorry, I keep on reading it, but it doesn't seem to make sense to me. Am I missing something?
Well, that's the statement that was. I mean, Nicola can correct it. That's the statement that was actually in the supporting documents.
Yeah, no, that's what's
So we've just copied down what you or what council
was there.
Yes.
And I say, for some reason, every time I read that, it doesn't make sense to me. And I say, I just wonder whether I'm the only brain that's missing out on this, and that it's me that's just not getting it.
Mm.
But
I mean,
is everybody else happy that that makes sense?
Well, we can't change it now because that's what you agreed. Because you actually, well, we agreed that exact wording because that's paraphrased from the document that was in the box. Having said that, obviously it's an item tonight. So if we feel that we need to just get some clarification,
yeah,
we can do because it's an ongoing situation with the traffic calming through the on Potton Road.
Yes, yeah.
But I say that's just being copied verbatim from what was in the report. So I can't change that now. I'm not happy to change that now. So,
right. Okay. Fair dues. I say it's just my brain. Right. I'm not really contributing much so far, am I?
Apart from Ian, is everybody else okay with the minutes as they stand?
This week was fantastic.
Okay. Can I have a proposer that that I sign those? I'm happy to sign them. Kieran's seconding it. All in favour? Rob, fine. Okay. Thank you much. That's good. Right. So back to the agenda.
Anne is in the process of joining.
Okay.
Taking her some time.
Okay.
She's having an IT problem too.
Okay. Well, she would have read the clerk's report. So if you go on with the clerk's report, that's not going to leave her too in the cold, is it?
That's fine.
We have to do that.
Yep. So with regard to the Ford, obviously I've been in dialogue with officers at Cambridge County Council, and they've now advised that they're going to be putting up warning signs on the existing posts at the Ford asking cyclists to dismount. Our new local highways officer has also been in touch with the Environment Agency to ask permission to jet wash the algae off of the Ford. Unfortunately, the Environment Agency have refused as it may contaminate the waterways. So he is still looking into other options. There was a loose plank on the bridge by the Ford, which has been reported by several councillors and parishioners and has now been fixed. I've received correspondence regarding the Cambridgeshire Minerals and Waste local plan, which you responded to as a council. So the examination of this plan has now commenced and the hearing sessions will open on the 15th of September. I've given you a link there, which will be in the minutes to see the provisional programme and the guidance notes. Obviously, if anyone has any questions, they can come back to me on that one. With regard to the coronavirus volunteer scheme, the requests for help have now dwindled on that. That seems to be calming down. And my assumption on that would be that most people have found workarounds for any issues that they did have. I've received correspondence from the Unity Trust Bank to state that due to the drop in the Bank of England base rate, the interest on the savings account is now 0. And as many of you will already have seen on the social media channels, the decision has been made to postpone Feast Week until 2020. Obviously, fundraising will recommence as soon as possible.
Fine. Okay, that's great.
Done.
Thank you very much. Now, the next item would have been update from the traffic group, which obviously Anne's very instrumental in. So I'm going to, with your approval, put that back. Are you okay with that, Nicola, if I get a seconder for that one?
Yeah.
Nicola, are you okay there?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So Peter's put his hand up as approval. Are we all happy that I delay that one? Hands show. Yeah. Sharon, you happy? Yeah. Fine. Okay. That's good. So we'll delay that one. Discuss and decide. Guide me on this one. We have insurance cover, which is a big one, and we have the compliance website. Do I move those or wait for Anne, or do we go on some more simple ones? Anybody got any ideas? because I'm going to be moving them around otherwise.
I think we've got to carry on, haven't we?
Okay, that's fair enough. So we'll move on to the traffic update as soon as Anne joins us. But I'm now going to go on to 21.17. Discuss and decide upon the insurance cover. So there's 3 quotes that we've had from £700 to £1,400. Nicola's done very well and got 3 quotes. The larger one was from the company that we've used for probably 6 years now. And it may just be like with all insurance, it tends to rack up disproportionately until you look again. So you've seen the information. I'm obviously, you know, these are specialist council insurance companies, so I'm not aware of any of the ones other than the Cambs which we had before. So has anyone sort of got any feelings about? I mean, I've looked at it and it seems that the cover is similar to what we had before. They've had time to quote, and obviously the cheaper one is the £700, and you get a further discount if you go for the 3 years rather than the 1 year. Has anybody had a peruse of it or wish to comment? No? Okay.
Right. I've had a peruse, yes, and it all seems pretty similar. But, you know, for example, one of the documents was 104 pages, and I nodded off after 76.
Yeah, I think you have to sort of read the schedule, don't you?
Well, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same old thing. You don't really know how good the insurance company is until you want to make a claim. And luckily, we haven't made a claim for many a year. So
No.
hopefully, touch wood, it will continue that way.
I mean, I would suggest that the person who's perhaps looked at it more than any of us is Nicola. And really, we ought to ask her if she noticed any differences.
Well, all the quotes are based on our previous schedule of insurance, so they are matching that schedule.
Yeah.
I guess the only other thing to think about is obviously just thinking back to last year with the firework display, making sure that they cover events like that, which I'm sure you've done.
I've verified that with both of them, and also that they cover subsidence on the pavilion because it's in an area of subsidence. There were a couple of insurers that declined to quote on subsidence or refused to cover the subsidence on the pavilion. So I've discounted those from your quotes. So yeah, those were the 2 things that I mainly focused on.
Okay.
Sharon, the same across the board.
Yes, I was just, oh, sorry. I was just going to say that with our sort of financial state, I just think, you know, we have a responsibility to go for the best quote, really. So, you know, to our parishioners. So I think, you know, we should perhaps opt for the cheapest one, the £700, because they all offer very similar, you know, cover, and that seems good value for money, really, doesn't it?
Sure. Yep. Kieran, do you wish to? Hi, Anne. We're talking about the insurance. We got as far as we're on to 21.17.
Hello.
Okay. Anybody else wish to add something on that one at all? No. Okay. So then, sorry, Heather.
Are we going for the 3-year deal, or are we just going for 1 year?
Well, that was the next sort of statement I was going to make. I mean, if we're all happy to go with a cheaper quote, obviously we get an even better discount if we go for 3 years. Yeah. It's just a question of whether we feel confident that the new company is okay to go for 3 years, or whether we try it for 1 year and see how it works out. But I'm just putting it up there if anyone's got any thought.
Can I just ask what we paid last year?
It's in the supporting documents. 1282, if I remember correctly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was significant, wasn't it? Yeah, and this year's quote was 1300, wasn't it? Or it had gone up by 100 and something pounds. So.
Yeah, 1384.
Yes, so it's taking Sharon's point. Yes, it's an awful lot more.
Yeah, but, it's nearly double, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like a sort of constant discount. If all 3 of them seem to quote the same sort of discount if you go for 3-year policy. So in this particular case, because it's not an expensive policy, the discount isn't quite so much. So it's talking about sort of £45 discount.
Just to confirm, if we go for a 3-year deal, they're not wanting all 3 years paid up front, are they? It's a year by year.
I don't believe so. That was not the deal. Certainly not the deal we had with Cayman Company. The last.
Oh, quite. It was just a question.
Yeah.
The other question I've got leading on from that is what's the cancellation policy? Because I'd be really interested to know how these deals work, because you can normally cancel a policy with certain repercussions. But if we've got a 3-year deal and we did want to get out of it at some point, how complex is that? Or what are the consequences?
I don't know the answer to that question.
So, based on the information we got to hand, we have a suggestion that obviously we're going with the cheaper quote. It's just a question of whether to go for the 1 year or slightly risky go for the 3 year, based in mind what Rob's just mentioned there. So
I'd be inclined to go for the 3 years because it's a very good price and things are only going to go up.
Yeah.
So if you've got 3 years, it's like a fixed rate. Isn't it?
I spotted at least 5 nods there, so that's the proposal then. So if I propose that we go for a 3 year deal with CAR, was it CS? CS. Suffolk. Yeah, that's a proposal. Can I have a second of that, please? Oh, I think Kieran was slightly faster. So Kieran is seconding it. All in favour? Are we all in favour? Peter? Anne, are you going to join us, or are you going to?
I'll abstain. I've missed half the conversation.
Yes, fair enough. I understand that. Yeah. Okay. So that's 7-1. Thank you very much. Right, we moving on or moving back. We delayed the traffic group update for your arrival, Anne. Are you happy to go into that, or do you want some more time to get yourself accustomed?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, update. I sent a couple of documents. Hopefully you've seen them. Just trying to find them myself. Ken had a good look through loads of data that came from the 1998-2000 TRO bid to get traffic off the B1040 coming through Hilton. And whilst we're not going for a TRO this time, the County Council advised us that if we want to be successful with our feasibility study, creating the argument for getting us off the advisory freight route map, then we need to satisfy and meet all the objections or overcome all the objections that were raised at that time. Otherwise, they have no reason to make any changes on their map. So that he sent the report through. Hopefully you've had time to read it. But basically, if I just summarize what it's saying is, what the report tells us is specifically what the inspector focused on as the reasons for rejecting the TRO application at that time. Therefore, those are the key ones that we need to satisfy. But secondly, and one of those, by the way, the major one, was legitimate, workable, alternative routes for the heavy goods traffic. So that's the one we really have to work on. But in addition, because there's been lots of road changes since then, we need to define what perhaps new opportunities or indeed new objections might arise given the reconfiguration of the road network. So that's the second key area. Then thirdly, a lot of the what wasn't really covered at that time and could have been but wasn't, were the pollution standards and the resultant impact on our environment. Now those standards have improved a lot over the years, and we've got loads of data that suggest that we're all being poisoned by the traffic. So we feel that we're moving towards a fairly strong case as long as we do our homework. So that's me summarising greatly what was in Ken's report, but do read it. Unless somebody's got any questions, I'll move on to the survey idea.
Okay.
Nope. Okay. In our Hilton traffic group discussions, one of the things we talked about with great glee and delight was the fact that with the lockdown, the reduction in traffic, particularly heavy goods traffic, has been absolutely wonderful. We've had bird song, we've had less noise, people's homes aren't rattling, they can open their windows at night, and so on. So to actually experience the impact of a lot less traffic has been quite significant. So we thought we'd try and optimize on that and ask parishioners a couple of things really. One, we want to, first of all, to stimulate their interest in what we're doing and try and get more participation from them. But we want to get their views on how we might inform the feasibility study. a lot of people have lived here a long, long time and may remember things or have data or examples, etc. So we want to hear any knowledge they have so we can add it to our case. Secondly, if they have particular skills, abilities, have a particular angle or perspective that might add to our being able to cover off all the potential objections and optimize opportunities, we want to hear about that too. If any of them would like to donate towards undertaking some of those actions, of course, that would be hugely welcome. And if they want to undertake some of the tasks, then I'm sure there are plenty of things we could involve people in doing. So that's the idea of the survey. Of necessity, I think, it's got quite a long preamble to explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and where we've got to. And then there's just a few simple questions asking people in what respect they might wish to help us out, and if so, you know, what that could look like. The stumbling block for me is how we gather the data, assuming we agree to that form. Is I mean, I'm happy to trudge the streets and do a leaflet drop, wearing my gloves and all the rest of it. But obviously the website would be helpful. But if we've got any particular views on how we gather the data, I'd welcome those. That's me.
Okay, thank you very much. Good summary.
Yep.
Does anyone else wish to add anything before I say something, or you any comments? You're all looking very quiet. Heather, far away.
I think it's great. I think it's a really good idea to be involving the parishioners in all of this. I
Come back.
just wonder if the actually.
Sorry.
We've been successful in getting the money for the feasibility study and just doing a bit of, we've done really well so far. Now we need your buy-in, and I just want a lorry ban would be a really good gist to our cause.
Okay, you were breaking up there, but basically you were saying it was a good thing. You were supporting it.
With some. Go on, Anne.
So just what I thought I heard there too was that if we reference the fact we've been successful this far in the document, the survey document, and we just want to get, you know, the final hurdles cleared, then it might encourage more participation. I think that's what you were saying. So great.
Yes. So am I breaking up?
Yes, yes. your video is very good, but the audio is sort of 10 seconds here and there, but yeah, that's fine. Okay. I mean, there's several sort of aspects to this. Whether we feel we've lost spectrum at the moment because of the current lockdown situation. So that's one avenue for publicity that we've lost. I think we need to question whether a leaflet drop is permissible. Does anyone wish to sort of guide me on that or comment? I mean, Anne's obviously happy to do it, and I'm sure there'll be other volunteers as well, but I'm just not sure about the legal aspects. Anybody got any thoughts on that one? Okay. I mean, if we did agree on the survey, would we be happy to support a leaflet drop, or would we prefer it to go on just on a website and Facebook? No feelings, Heather?
So my other idea was to be able to say to people on the leaflet drop, we'd like to do more of this electronically, we'd like to be greener. So can we use the leaflet drop as an opportunity for garnering more and more email addresses so we can be greener and not do so many leaflet drops in the future?
We have tried to get a database before, and obviously puts more work on the clerk. Are you okay, Nicola, if we have?
Well, I've got a database already, so it's just be a question of adding them if they did respond.
But it's probably quite a small number, isn't it? 40?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. I think it's more like about 80 or 90, if I had to guess.
Okay. I'm going to invite Andy in now because I hope he's about the survey.
It is, thanks, Graham. As you know, I've got an email list for the village in a number of hundreds. I'm very happy to send out an email to support this survey to that list. I agree totally that the response should be via SurveyMonkey or something electronic as well, which is a good way of doing that. And as you probably know from the past, I've always been banging on about multimodal. You can't assume anybody uses everything.
Yeah.
I didn't know about Feast Week because I don't use Facebook. Somebody else told me, or actually Nicola told me about it. So I think the promotion should be multimodal. It should be through everything. And leaflets are still have to be the best way of getting everybody in the village aware of it. And I'm very happy to add in that same message via email, my website, your website, everything. We should use everything, I think, to attack that.
Thanks, Andy. That's great.
Okay.
So moving on, then we're happy as to how we're going to distribute the survey. Are we happy that the survey, or are we happy with what Anne's proposed as draft?
I just have a slight concern that this might result in a lot of work, which could defocus what's going on, what you're trying to do. Let's hope that, I mean, I think it's a good idea that we consult the village and we get, and somebody might come up with some brilliant ideas. So, but just as long as there's enough resource to field all that and make some sense of it.
It's a fair point, Kieran. It has floated past my mind, but I think with the Hilton Traffic Group, you know, we've got obviously additional resource to the Parish Council itself, and in a way, a bit of me says it'd be a nice problem to have that we had lots of people willing to pitch in. I do think we'd have to, if you like, codify the areas of their interest into certain kind of groups, camps, whatever, which would reduce the size of the task. And it may be that we have to say to people, look, we can't involve all of you, or we set up a spin-off subgroup or something, and actually to pull together. Because in a way, at the moment, what we have with the various traffic-related groups that operate in the village, they all do offer different things, and then offer it up to the main group and parish council. So I think there are ways by which we can manage it, but you're right, we need to think that through.
Okay.
I have one other, if I may. It may be a bit premature, but it's perhaps something we should start thinking about. Is as this goes further along, will we need some kind of fighting fund to help with professional representation or advice, that kind of thing? And would we perhaps be better starting thinking about that early rather than at the last minute?
It's a good point, but I suppose in my innocence, perhaps, we're not actually going for a TRO. What we're doing is asking the county council to change something, and in a sense the information from the last TRO application is to give them a good reason to change their advisory freight route map. So I don't see that it should be going further than and, you know, outside any other party besides ourselves and the county council. I could be wrong on that, but I can't really quite see that happening. I think the idea of a fighting fund's a great one because there's a lot of data to collect and to churn. And if you remember, Laura, you was talking about that multi-parish exercise to do the pollution measurement again. Well, obviously nothing much is happening on that at the moment, but we may still want to do it for here. So, you know, I think the funding side is a big black hole in a way.
Yeah, I'm not advocating doing something just yet, just thinking about it, because
yes,
if they came to a point where you needed the resource and the help, you know, to professionals that help, not help from volunteers.
Okay, I'm gonna call Peter in because he's sitting there with his hand up.
It was just going back to the point Heather was trying to make, I think, earlier, which was that she wanted, correct me if I'm wrong, Heather, but at the beginning, did you want it to be a bit more beefed up to say that we've got this LHI funding and we're now coming out to you, to parishioners, to say, please can you input what you think about what we're doing?
That's right.
So that would be a bit of changing in the wording at the beginning of the survey.
happy to do that. Yeah.
I was going to suggest, I mean, whether we can get it onto one page. I mean, normally I would ask Nicola to do that. Are you happy to make it into a single page? Do you think you could?
Yep, I can do that. Sorry about the clock, and it will ding the wrong number of hours.
Anyway, yes.
Sorry.
Brilliant.
And it dings an extra hour, but no worry. Yeah, sorry, where were we? Yes, I can make that. I can bring it down size-wise, but we do need to add the email address, the community website contact address, and so on. So there's a few bits to add, but I'll do my best to get it down to one page. And to make that statement needed up front, as Peter suggests, based on Heather's point. You know, the Hilton Traffic Group is going to have to think through, what if we get no responses, what if we get a deluge, and something in between. So we'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah, I was a bit concerned also. We were asking for money, but we don't really say what the money's for. So at this stage, I prefer if that was maybe put a bit obscure, rather than actually asking for money. Maybe
Well,
that may be in need, because I can't imagine anyone's going to stump up some money, because until people know what the money's for, they won't know what sort of value we're talking of. I mean, you can always say that may be in need.
Well, we do have one specific, and that's to help with some of the measurement. The County Council, if you remember, suggested, you have to help me here, you guys, that we suggested doing, I think it was tube monitoring on Church End and Gravelly Way, which they themselves would not provide, but they could tell us who a good provider was, that kind of thing, but it would cost money. So there is a specific, which is to help give us the data that's more than the B1040, in order to kind of beef up our argument as to the traffic that trundles through the village.
Yeah, but I say at the moment we're just asking for money, and I don't think the public or parishioners would understand what sort of value we're talking about until we say, well, we would have to lead as to what the price was.
I think, well, maybe I can word it slightly differently to say that you know, the outcome may be that we'll need some funding to undertake some tasks,
yes.
And if you're willing, put your hand up and we'll tell you at the time.
I'm happy for that, but from the way it was written, it was saying if you could spare us some money, then please do. But I think, bearing in mind it was only a year ago that we asked money for the play park, and that was well responded to, but people knew what they were buying into. This one, I think it would be a case of we might need to get some money, so please be aware that there could be a call for funds, but that's, if you can do that.
Happy to do that.
Thank you very much. Obviously, we would get it printed on PC printer. Are we okay for paper and stuff? And
yep.
Nicola, are you okay to look after that?
Yep, no problem.
Fine. Okay. So bearing in mind that, are we happy that that's next stage, including leaflet drop? Is there a kind of a seconder for the proposal? Heather, are you proposing or seconding, or?
I'm proposing or seconding. I've got one question as well. Yep.
Far away. That's the questions first of all.
So my question is, given that Spectrum isn't happening and we're going to do a leaflet drop probably, is there any other news we want to send out to the village that we want to include in this? And I'm thinking, for example, it has been successful on the Ford signage or the bridge.
I'll just stop you there. I'll tell you what, because one of the items we got later on is the annual parish meeting.
Yeah.
At which point we do a report of the year. So what you're suggesting there would be ideal. So we give a rundown of everything we've done. I think if we put it on the back of what we're sending out, it may confuse people. Just give it a simple message.
That's fine.
And I think we're going to get a better response.
So I'm proposing then.
Okay. I just had a question. We all saw the email from Laura with the rather disturbing email that was within it about HCCC's methods for now sorting out traffic routes and things. Is that going to affect anything, Anne? I mean, I was going to ask Nicola if she could get that email sanctioned by the writer, because we've been passed it second hand. I was hoping that the writer could be approached and say, is this what you said, so that we could then use it, or we could be aware of it.
We can do that.
I'm just going back to it now.
There were some rather disturbing things about the fact that because they couldn't enforce it, they weren't that bothered about, or they were less than happy to start actioning it, I think is the summary.
Short answer, I don't know. I think the quickest way to get a reply is maybe to ask Ian Bates. I'm very aware that with lockdown and coronavirus and so on, that there isn't much happening at the county council with respect to anything on transport. So the teams are all deployed elsewhere. So I'm not sure we'll get much of a response for a while, but one can keep asking. But Ian might know.
Okay. Well, then let's stick with the way it's going. We'll go with the survey. Heather's seconding the proposal. I'm happy to propose it.
Graham, what is the proposal?
The proposal is that the survey is distributed to all houses in Hilton. It'll be a single page. It'll be adjusted in according with the comments that have been made tonight. You're going to see it to proofread it. If you want me to also proofread it, I'm happy to proofread it. And we will be looking for volunteers to post it, and it'll be going onto the Parish Council website. Have you got all that written down? That's the proposal, which Heather seconded. So, are you happy with that, Nicola?
Yeah, hang on.
Okay. Yeah, I thought you were recording it.
I am, but I'm also writing it.
Okay, just in case it crashes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the proposal. I see your hand, Peter. Are you voting? I don't want to change it now.
I'm really going to be an awkward bugger here. The distribution of this to every household. Okay, Spectrum is not distributing to every household because of coronavirus fears. Yes, that's correct, is it not?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why are we
sure whether they
going to distribute something to every household?
It's a good point, Peter, and that's why I was thinking the way to do it would be by wearing gloves, and I've got as much sanitizer as would sanitize the whole house, and a mask, which I do normally if I'm outside.
And how will that reassure the people who go to their letterbox and see it will not know that's how it's being delivered?
We could put a footer. So Heather's got a thought.
I don't know. It's a very uncomfortable area.
I think the production of Spectrum is a bit peculiar because last month it was online, anybody could read it online. This month they haven't done a paper copy, which is a bit odd. 8 weeks into coronavirus. The postman comes every day and delivers post without wearing gloves. I think would be
and that's not a good thing either.
Good point. Sorry, Peter?
I think that's not a good thing either, that the postman comes every day delivering not without gloves. You know, we are supposed to be helping people shield from this virus. It's a personal.
This has been debated by some other councils, interestingly, and a lot of them have decided, well, there is what's perceived minimal risk from distributing information in this way. It's considered that, while not risk-free, it's likely the risk of infection from receiving a letter is minimal. The need to get important messages out to the most vulnerable far outweighs the risk. Now, I guess you could debate whether this is an important message or not, is to whether it outweighs the risk or not. Something to think about.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because at this time we have such a reduced effect of traffic through the village. And we are just seeing an easing of lockdown things within the country. Do we wait for a month or two to see if there's a spike, or that there has been a reduction in and we are on more easing of lockdown?
Well, from the feasibility point of view, studies point of view only, the sense from the Hilton traffic group was, let's capture the moment whilst the air is clean and there's less traffic. It is building up very quickly now. So the idea was to try and catch the moment. We could add a sort of footer on the survey that said this was delivered by sanitized gloves and a mask rather than a human, and just try and provide a bit of a reassurance that way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a very difficult one. On a personal point of view,
Yeah.
I'm very much against it. I think that we should need to protect our parishioners, etc. But that's only my view.
It's tough, isn't it? Because we get all sorts of things delivered. Some people wear gloves, some don't. And as Heather said, the post is delivered without gloves. And if you're anything like me, you just go and grab it.
Damn about it, do they?
Sorry?
Some people go to Durham, they don't give a damn about it. Other people observe all rules and try and
Yeah.
act in a responsible manner.
Yes, don't get me onto that.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on. Let's. I'll bring Sharon in. Yeah.
Can I just say, the coronavirus is supposed to only last 4 hours on any hard surface, and also the cold actually kills the virus anyway. So actually, if people weren't happy to they could leave it in they could leave it on their mat floor or hall floor, or leave it in their letterbox if they don't want to pick it up. So
yeah, I mean, I
think it's quite safe.
It comes back to whether we're collectively happy to send out leaflets. I mean, we do have quite a collected database, so we could start that way. I'm looking for guidance. As I say, when we first discussed it on this item, no one seemed to mind about the paper leaflets. So whether we've had time to think about it a bit more.
I think the problem is it's personal opinion, isn't it? And people have got different views.
Yeah.
Don't,
But that's the
personally,
question.
it doesn't bother me, and I think the risk is incredibly low. But I know other people have, for valid reasons, different opinions.
Yeah, it's a question also whether you upset the people that you're pushing. I mean, are we going to get more criticism for posting it through than for delaying? I mean, if someone gets a leaflet that they didn't actually want, or something through their door that they, if you get a letter, it's addressed to you and it's information, and also you may be tempted to read it because you think it's of time and importance, and it's not that time important.
Well, I suppose another approach would be to do one area or one street or something and see what reaction we get.
Well, alternatively, we stick it on the website and see what reaction we get to that. I mean, that's another thing. We could put a summary or do the survey and say this will get delivered to your house within the next weeks, and see if anyone
tell us otherwise.
Sorry.
Unless you tell us otherwise.
Yes, and then if we get a huge deluge of people saying, why are you delivering to us? I think that might be a better way of doing it. And at least people have had a warning it's coming through their door.
Well, we could go with that, a sort of two-stage approach. And as Andy's offered the community website as well, we could do both.
Yeah. Heather, how far away?
I was going to say using Andy's database would be a good idea, but also we could say we're going to do a leaflet drop. We realise that it's difficult with coronavirus, so we're holding fire. But if you want to collect a copy, you could get one from
the shop
or wherever.
Yeah. Okay. So I think if we start off with the database and the website, and kind of see what response we get to that, is that sort of woolly enough to happy to model for the time being? I think we should. Things are changing all the time, so I mean, in a week or two's time, things could be completely different. Shops are opening and holiday lets are starting, and who knows what's going to happen. So, a bit of post through your door might seem quite minor, but see, our next meeting is going to be into July. It might be quite nice to get this running. I mean, normally we're in such a hurry. It'd be quite nice to perhaps spend June sorting it out so we can get it out at a reasonable rate rather than rushing around.
I'm not a Facebook user, but could it go out through Facebook?
But a Survey Monkey link on Facebook, yeah.
Yeah, just another one.
So that's what I'm going to propose. That initially we put it on electronic means, and we could put something like with the intention of delivering leaflets later, a flyer later, and then we can sort of say gauge what response we get.
We could also put up posters and in the shop on the notice boards and so on, saying that there is a leaflet. If you want one dropped off at your home, let us know. If you want to pick it up, there's some here or whatever. We could do it that way.
Yes, that might be a better way of doing it. Yeah, okay. Andy?
Yeah, I think if we're going to capture the moment of quietness on the road, we've got to be damn quick. I'm just having a quick look at the figures. We had the all-time record since the start of the year of overnight HGV infringements the week before last of the whole period, where we've increased up to half of our normal average last week, and that's increasing gradually as well. So I feel that we're going to get very quickly we're going to ramp up the volumes of traffic through the village quite quickly. So I think we're going to get that nice and quiet, birds singing. Isn't it great to have your windows open, because at night there's no traffic. We need to get out there pretty quick with something.
I mean, I think that's a very good point, Andy. And my plan would be to get to tweak the document as is, and get Nick and Graham just to read it through, and then let's get it out by the end of the week or the weekend, and see what reaction we get. Otherwise, we'll miss the moment and we'll all, revert back into whatever before.
So, I mean, we're happy about the survey. I would like to take a vote about how we distribute it. Bear in mind what we've heard. We've got two options here. One is we do a blanket leaflet drop. The other alternative is that we just go for the IT means by email and every other bit of information technology we have other than a leaflet drop. I'm going to propose that we go for the information idea first of all. We put it out there other than leaflets. Obviously, we could put some in the shop. That's a proposal. You know what the second option is if you don't like that one. Can I have a second one? Can I have a seconder, please, for the proposal that we just have information technology response? Peter is seconding it. All those in favour of that option? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5. And so Anne and Rob, are you abstaining, or?
I think Anne just agreed.
I'm just saying
Anne,
I would agree to them both.
And you've had your session. I want to vote. I want a yes or a no. I want to abstain.
I'll abstain.
No.
Okay, fair enough. That's good. That's good. Okay. So Rob, are you? I missed your hand. Are you with us?
I'll abstain.
Okay, so that's the, I can't count. There's 6, 4, and 2 abstentions, and that's just for information technology.
Anne, were you an abstention or an against?
Well, abstention. Let's say abstention. Sorry.
That's the 6-2, and so we'll go out on information technology, and we'll see what response we get, and then we can lead on to a leaflet if we feel that's necessary. Oof. Okay, that's great. Thank you much.
Thank you, everybody.
And as an aside, Nicola, if you could just get that email verified from CCCC to see if she's happy for us to broadcast it.
If she is available, I'll ask her.
Thank you very much. Good. Okay. Right. So moving on. If I could remember where we got to. Agenda. Right. So we've had that. We've done. Now. This is the one about the compliance where we had discussed it before. This is to do with the website, the compliance for websites. This is a requirement to make sure it's accessible for all. We'd sorted it out, and then it appears that the people we'd gone with couldn't do what we wanted. So we now need to decide what the next step is. In supporting documents, you've seen the various quotes. Now, as I understand it, or looking through it, the quotes are similar, if not the same as what we had before. But there really is a lot in there. And it's a question if anyone's got any sort of strong feelings as to which company we go with. And obviously we can involve Nicola because she's been talking to the various people. So whether she has anything to add on that one at all, but it's back on the table. We need to get this done. Before COVID, it was September. I suspect that there will be a bit of flexibility necessary, but it would be nice to get that moving.
It hasn't been included in the Coronavirus Act. So as far as I'm aware, there is no flexibility at this point. Okay. So at the very least, we need to have our website audited by September. So we need to decide what we're going to do. We are talking in the region of £2,000+. So it's a large amount of money, but it's, as I understand it, it's an upfront amount of money with less money per year. And also, as I understand it, it relies on the clerk or somebody being trained. So to get the best value for money, we need to have it in-house, so it's in-house training so that we can look after the website. Anybody wish to comment or any experience of this? I mean, I was going to suggest that we went...
Sorry, Graham, I was just thinking of budgets, and there was when we discussed this, there was unless you can justify that it's unreasonable cost, and I still come back to when we've got a shortage of cash at the minute, £2,000 in a year that we haven't budgeted for it. Is there not a justification we can put together to say, look, we'll do it, but not this year, and we don't think it's particularly high importance in our area, short term?
I don't
would say that wouldn't stand up.
Why not?
Because it's not an unreasonable cost in consideration to our annual income.
I mean, I think at the very least we have to have it audited, don't we, to see how compliant it is. I mean, that's effectively the 2,000 bit. The additional money is how we maintain it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, if we had it audited and we found that there were issues that would cost an inordinate amount of money to fix, we can then include it in our accessibility statement to say we are aware that this is an issue. However, as the cost to rectify that issue would be X amount, we have judged at this point that it is too expensive based on our income.
But that doesn't go for the audit, is it? The audit is compulsory.
You'd need the audit in order to produce that statement.
Fine. Okay. So we could delay the next stage.
Who did we lose?
Sorry, we missed someone, didn't we?
We've just lost someone.
It's awkward.
Heather.
Heather's gone. Well, she was having internet problems certainly with the sound.
But is it compulsory?
Yes, as I understand it, by September. So I mean, you know, we are
By September.
Yes.
Well, in that case, I guess we have to.
Peter,
do we have to do the audit? Could we just not go into the next stage and have the new website, which is a lesser cost?
Yes, we could do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you go for one of the packages and you actually spend less money and it's a compliant package. Is that correct?
That would be better money spent then, wouldn't it? Because the maximum cost is only 1,300 for that, isn't it?
Compared to doing 2,000 and then £1,300.
Yeah.
You find your website isn't compliant. And in response to comments that are made, this is a piece of legislation that has been passed for equality for everybody to be able to have access to websites. The thing that we aren't able to afford it won't stand, because we are able to afford it, and we have to do it for the Equality Act.
Yeah.
And the WAG.
But it's a good point you make, that if we just went for a compliant website, I mean, I don't know what sort of upheaval that would be. It's presumably it's going to be down to 4 o'clock to sort of have a sudden input to get the website changed.
There'll be some website design in that too. But, I mean, we've finished up starting from scratch with the design.
Did we not establish that it was WordPress that they used when we looked at this originally?
With Aubergine?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did.
So can we not just transfer, if you like, our livery onto another website?
Aubergine will do it for £25 plus VAT per hour.
How long will it take?
How long is a piece of string? I don't know.
I don't know.
No.
But presumably, even if it cost a couple £100, it still adds up to less than the audit plus changing the website.
Yes.
But presumably, if we had the audit, the decision on whether we might change the website would be dependent on how good or bad we performed, as it were.
Absolutely. There's a chance that we could pass the audit, or that there could be things in the audit that I could fix myself.
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
without being told, I don't know what needs fixing.
Yeah, yeah.
And you did get somebody to have a quick overview of it, and they found that 60% of it wasn't compliant?
You can do some online checking. So yeah, I think, when I did an online check, it was something ridiculous, like 67% non-compliant pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the impression that someone had done a sort of a quick job just to prove that you needed it to be done. So I don't know how genuine that was.
Well, in that case, if we have to be compliant by September, I would say we just need to go with the website cost of 600 to 1,300, because there's almost no point doing the audit, because actually if we're already 60-odd% non-compliant, then we need to be compliant by September, don't we?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we generally okay with that? That we just, I mean,
I have to say I've got some concerns about that, because if somebody's going to redesign a website completely to be compliant, which is a Hilton Parish Council website, we'll have very little control over what it looks like, or I would imagine it's going to be an off-the-peg solution. So it depends on whether we want to keep any kind of individuality about our site, or whether, okay, you can have a header which is ours and with it's a graphics on it, but I just think we need to know a bit more about what they're actually going to do. If it's a question, if it is WordPress based, and it's a question of getting one theme which is compliant and migrating ours to that theme, that will be okay, I would imagine. But I don't know whether that's the case. I mean, it could be that they just, it's a one size fits all. Just change the logo on the top.
Yes, we'll lose our identity. Yes.
But then, if we've got to be compliant with if this is a national requirement, surely that's probably the idea, that all parish council websites look similar with different headings, and maybe that's actually what they are aiming to do, to kind of streamline all parish council websites. Is that?
I suppose you do have a point there, because for access, if people know where it is on if every parish council, district council website's the same, where to look. So that might be one of the issues potentially. But
I do agree with you, Kieran. It's a shame it takes away our individuality, but maybe
may do. We don't know.
Yeah,
it may not. So I mean, it'd be helpful to know how much we can customize it, as it were, and at least in terms of its look and appeal. But I imagine that what we're really talking about is wordsmithing here. It's words, isn't it?
No, I think it's more complicated than that from what we looked at before. It's anyone with any disability or whatever can sort of access our
documents. Can become talking documents for people to listen to. Is that right? Wasn't that right, Nicola?
Yeah, it's about screen readers being able to read documents. It's about images having captions. It's about use of colour. It's about the ability to enlarge documents. PDFs are a particular issue because a lot of screen readers can't use them if they're in a certain format. Things like where you've scanned in a document, for instance, that has words, and it's then just an image that can't be read by a screen reader. It's about being able to navigate the website using a keyboard if you're unable to use a mouse. So there's a lot of coding issues as well as just wordsmithing and appearance.
Thank you, helpful.
Sorry.
Sounds like we have to do it.
Yeah, it's a question of what we do now. So previously we did send it back to the media group. There's various options that we can do. I'm getting a feeling that there's not a lot of understanding as what we can do here.
Would it be
I'm not seeing any parishioner questions, Andy. Sorry, this is a moment between ourselves. Anyone else got anything to say? Because if we can't conclude, I think we are going to have to get the media to look.
Well, when the media group met and discussed it, it was some options.
Problems with the internet.
There were options on the table, weren't there, that we were going to get somebody to have a look and explore, and those options, that option didn't work out, did it? They couldn't. The person who was going to explore couldn't explore.
Yeah.
And then we have got the aubergine package, which is one that SLCC has worked to make sure that it is compliant for parish councils across the country. And the other one was also another group had put together for parish councils as an alternative. They do, certainly the aubergine one has more than we pay for our existing website. So you should be aware of that.
Yeah, yeah.
£300 plus. £300 a year, is it? Something like that?
Mm.
So unfortunately, that will have to go into future annual budgets because that's another cost, but it is not something we can avoid.
Mm.
It's also a question of the ongoing audit. So with Aubergine, they will continue to ensure compliance.
I'm going to bounce this back to Nicola, who got all the quotes in the first place, to decide whether we need to have that audit first of all, whether we can have a bit more information, whether Media Group want to discuss it, or whether we bring it back with a bit more of a conclusion or recommendation. I mean, the thing is that we've got so much. There's 4 quotes that you've had with all the information. I think it'd be better if we could send it back and then bring it back at the next meeting with just one recommendation as to why, because you've all seen the prices. If we could have a little chat amongst ourselves, and this is going to be the recommendation with more information, because there's a lot of money. We're not entirely sure whether we need that audit and what the other costs are and whether we're going to lose our identity. So if you're happy to delay it and then bring it back to July meeting, we've still got time to do, at least if we can show that things are happening for September, then I think we can show that we have been taking it seriously. But I'm not getting a sense of sort of, we'll go in one direction. So if you're happy that we delay till July, yeah, that's my proposal. Can I have a seconder, please? And Sharon seconding. All in favour?
Yeah, sounds sensible.
Yeah. Heather, you happy to delay? And now, Rob and Heather, you're not. Are you abstaining or against? Well, Heather's gone, I think.
I put my hand up to agree with that.
Okay, I think Heather's not sure she's gone, so we'll have to ask her later whether she. I think that's going to have to be an abstention because, as I say, we've lost the internet with Heather. So that's the 7 of for a delay, but it must come back at the next parish council meeting with a recommendation. This is what we're proposing, and you say you can look at the documents from this month to just check that it's all in line with what you initially had. Okay, thank you very much on that one. Next one is the trees. Now you had an email. I'm aware of what Heather said there. Just asking Nicola, is that email private then and confidential? Is it just for councillors?
I haven't given you. I've taken out the information that would identify the parishioner.
Oh, it's from a parishioner, is it?
It's from a parishioner.
Oh, I thought it had come from. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, as you've all seen, the request is, or the offer is, that there are some oak saplings that are available, and they will be available for autumn time. It's just a question of where they're coming from. Now you've read the one page of the email. It's a question if we're all happy to effectively support the cause.
I think there's more to it than that. Firstly, do we need any more saplings? We've got lots of saplings. Do we want any more plantations on the green and the wilderness? These are all big questions. And I would imagine they'll come and plant as many trees as they've got on their van. So we need to be a little bit careful. I'd like really this to go to the Open Spaces group to discuss and come back with more information and see how we feel. We haven't discussed about new plantations for a while, so this would be quite a good.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because also if you read it, it does talk about rewilding, which I suppose is it's questionable whether the green is going to be a wooded area. It would imply that the idea is to plant. They're after land to plant lots of trees, and so whether the odd sapling that we might want falls into that category, I'm not too sure. Anne?
Just a couple of things. One, given that they're about the climate and the environment, I would support it. But secondly, we talked way back when the A14 was first being bounced around about planting in order to shield the village, different locations, planting to shield the village from pollution. And although the A14 people say, oh, you don't need it, I'm not wholly convinced. So I just wondered if there's any part of the village or its boundary where planting trees might be added value. Secondly, if we don't want to use lots in the parish or under the under the kind of jurisdiction of the parish council, we could offer it to farmers or even people for their gardens. They may want to plant trees themselves.
Can I jump in here again, because we've had a bit of experience with this? There was some discussions with landowners to the north of the village, as to whether we could put together a kind of a wooded strip that went all the way across the northern part of the village. The farmer involved would be happy to do that. The cost of the trees was actually not the issue. It's the land and the maintenance and the lack of crop that's the issue. So the fact that you've got some trees to hand won't actually sway it either way. But of course, he wanted some other concessions which the parish council at the time weren't happy to support. So, so that's a little bit of history from, must be 5-6 years ago, when we first started looking at it. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'd be contacting all sorts of landowners to see if they wanted trees. But to plant on productive farmland is a different issue.
No, understand, yeah.
Sharon, you were slightly ahead of Heather.
I might be the minority here, but I'm not sure politically whether it's a good move to accept these from such a group as the Extinction Rebellion, having, you know, the carnage that they created in, you know, various places, like Cambridge and when they were protesting. So I, for one, you know, rightly or wrongly, don't really think that I would want to accept these saplings.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think there's a few people, Sharon, that share that view in the village. My worry about this is forgetting our own independent views. There are people with strong views for this topic and this particular group's approach to their protesting. So I think could end up just getting a can of worms opened for a set of trees that we don't even know if we even want or need.
Heather,
I think it's a bit. I don't think we're doing ourselves any favour.
Sorry, I was having Heather in there. Sorry.
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Okay.
I agree that Extinction Rebellion is a very difficult organisation to accept a gift from. On their website, they say they regrettably break the law, and I don't think we should align ourselves with a group that say that. The trees that they've got are 30 centimetre high trees. They're 2-year-olds, and we're going to have a problem with looking after those on our land anyway. We could buy trees at that size for £12.50 a piece if we wanted to. I don't think we need to align ourselves with Extinction Rebellion to do that.
Okay, Anne, you want to comment?
Yeah, my concern is that the flip side of the argument, in a way, is that we're seen to judge people for the acts of a few. Now, I know they take the view that they have to break the law. Could we turn that on its head a little bit and say what we're talking about here is the environment and trying to improve the environment? And we could either say, you know, great idea, thank you ever so much for the offer, but look how many trees we've been planting over the last whatever years and continue to do so. So we're with you in terms of improving the environment. But we don't need any trees at the moment, or we'll just have 3, whatever. Could we position ourselves really in a bit more of a positive light and remember what this is about? It's about improving our environment.
Peter?
I think we should reply to them and say, thank you for your email.
Okay.
Because we shouldn't be engaging. We're a non-political organisation.
Well, that's true. So it's brought to light the fact that whether we do need saplings on the green, and I think we can now put it into 2. Whether Nicola's going to let us take 2 votes, I think I can take a vote tonight. The one was whether we accept the trees, and the second one is whether we have a green discussion as to whether we need saplings.
Do you need to vote on that? Can you not just have it on the agenda next time the green?
I was thinking, yes. I mean, your point.
We'll discuss it anyway.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, that's the point that we make, that the green and open spaces talk about trees all the time anyway. Hopefully, maybe every September, autumn time, you have a discussion, and if you want some trees, you come to us and you ask for X amount of money, and we'll be happy. I'm of the opinion that it's not a good thing to align ourselves to such a group. I think there could be repercussions, and I'm going to propose that we reject the offer. How kindly we respond, I think we have something in between. And you've had your say. We have a say between Peter's extreme and Anne's one. I'm sure Nicola can come up with a thank you very much, but we're okay. And the proposal, therefore, is that we reject this kind offer. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Okay.
Who was that?
Rob's next to me, so I'm going to have Rob as a seconder. Are all those in favour of that response? Ian, you're not voting, and
Not
Anne.
just yet.
Sorry.
Not
Okay,
just
so
yet.
that was
No,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 6. Is it 6 in favour? And Ian, you're
Abstaining. Thank you.
abstaining, and Anne, you're abstaining, or are you against?
I'm against.
Okay, so that's 1-1. Okay. Thank you very much. And I say if the Greens can sort of carry on looking at trees and give us a budget as to how much they want for new trees, that'd be great. Right. Okay. Item number 20. Hopefully we can speed up a bit now. This is the annual parish meeting. Heather mentioned before about it'd be nice to broadcast what we've done. We would normally have had the annual parish meeting in July, but for various reasons we missed that. And the proposal now is that we move it to autumn. I don't want to specifically put in a date because hopefully things get better. This is a time when we engage with parishioners. Hopefully we can put it in spectrum. I don't know whether we'll be having meetings by then. But if we're happy to have a general postponement that we do have an annual parish meeting sometime this year with a target of autumn, it's the chairman's prerogative to call a meeting. So if you're happy to delegate that to yours truly, I'll call a meeting with discussion with Nicola as to when we think it's a good time to broadcast what this will be for the year, obviously 2019 to 2020.
Technically, the annual parish meeting isn't actually a meeting of the council. You have the right to call it as chairman, but it is not a council meeting.
No, so you don't need to turn up, but it's nice obviously to have councillors there. Peter,
you can't call it, can you, yet, Graham, until the government tell us we can have a group meeting of more than X number of people.
I can't have a public meeting, but we can call it by online, and the recommendation is that we do have one. But yeah, that's the confusion because it kind of fell between two stools. So we would normally have had it by 1st of June, but because of various reasons, they're taking a flexible approach.
Yeah,
so it'll be later, but if I'm proposing that we delay it until later in the year, I will call it at a suitable time. Anne?
Just an additional wee thought. It wouldn't stop us perhaps sending out a kind of interim bunch of data to the villagers, even on the website or something, just to remind you of the things we've been doing and that our annual meeting will be later in the year.
I think it would rather take the shine off the meeting. If you're going to leak what you're going to write, going to present, then there's not much point in having a meeting. So unless the meeting has to be quite late in the year. Sorry?
It's going to be halfway into the next year. So.
Well, if it's September time, I mean, summer holidays and things, but
different times.
It's difficult times, yes. So that's a proposal. Can I have a seconder that we delay it for say autumn? Peter, you're happy with that?
Yeah.
All in favour? Rob, Sharon, favour? Yeah. Fine, good. Yeah, that's good. Okay, but I will try and have it as quick as possible. But hopefully things will get better throughout the year, the remainder of the year, and we can have it earlier. Right, 21. This is the Town Trust Parish representative. At the moment, we have 2. Rachel Lawton has had the 4 years, and therefore we would normally have had a new representative in by now because it's every May or every 4 years May. Again, because of various problems, the proposal is that we delay that till August because obviously one of the mediums is we need to get parishioner attention. We need applicants from parishioners for that position. So I think it's not particularly good time to try and get interest in that. So again, the recommendation is that we delay until autumn, and the current incumbent is happy to continue until we call the next meeting, or we call for the next representative. So are we happy to delay? Very much. Yeah. Is Sharon? Are you seconding that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So that's a proposal. Sharon seconding it. Are we all in favour?
Yep.
Yeah.
Peter, Heather, you happy? Oh, she's gone. I think you're gone. You've frozen again, haven't you? Yeah.
The eyes moved that time.
Fine. Unanimous. That's good. Thank you. Right. This is the one that Anne mentioned. This was to discuss and decide upon donations to the village hall, bearing in mind that we would normally meet in the village hall, and therefore the amount of money, hourly rate that we have paid, we would normally have paid to the village hall, we're not getting. So far we've had probably 3 meetings at £14 an hour. That's a suggestion. I'd like to oh, sorry, Sharon.
You might like to know that the village hall have applied for a grant from the government and have been successful in sort of in effect being furloughed. So they've got a grant from the government to cover their loss of earnings over this period.
Fine. Okay, so they're not desperate for money. It's a question of whether we feel more responsible.
Could I ask, if we do this for the village hall, would we have to do it for the Methodist Church as well?
Well then, Nicola.
We can't donate to the church.
I don't think we should donate at all then.
No. I also think, you know, actually we're spending parish money, and I think, you know, a few villagers would question, we're not flush with money, so we haven't actually got excess money that we could give to the village hall, and as they are getting a funding from the government, I think you know, at least they're not out of pocket from not having our meetings there.
I think the other point, just to remember that we are paying £14 a month for the Zoom license as well. So, you know, I know we're normally in there for a couple of hours, but I wouldn't think it'd be right for the parish to be out of pocket to fund the village hall, who are already getting funded by the government.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't aware of the grant, I have to say, but just in the spirit of let's share the pain, you know.
Yeah.
But if you've got the grant, then it's less of a requirement.
Maybe we review that and see if there is someone with more pain later on. Perhaps we can sort of just leave it out there that you know, we won't at the moment, but we're aware. I mean, we don't know how long the situation is going to go on for, do we? So
Right.
if it's relatively short term, fingers crossed, and the difference isn't going to be much. But if it goes on for years, then we'll need to have to think about an alternative approach. So I think I'm getting a feeling of nope. So I'm going to propose that we decline the suggestion that we donate to the village hall. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Sharon seconding it. All in favour?
Yeah.
Peter?
No.
Okay. Heather? Okay, so that's 7. And Peter, are you abstaining or are you against?
I'm against.
You're against. Okay, so Peter's against. Okie dokes. That's good. Thank you very much. Right. This is to receive the financial reports. I don't know when we last looked at these.
Pre-lockdown, I'm afraid. Sorry about that.
Lockdown. So we're talking of some time ago. Okay. So what you're hinting is that we really ought to look at them.
Subtle, aren't I?
Yeah. Yeah. If only I'd known, I would have had them. Financial reports. So that's the Excel spreadsheet. Okay. Right. Okay. I mean, have enough of us looked at it to be happy, or are there any questions? We get sent this every month. Quite often we just sort of say, yeah, thanks very much, and then just pass over it. But I think really we should look at it every 3 months or so, or at least give it a cursory glance. Ian, are you speaking or are you coughing?
I'm just coughing. Look at it all, and to be honest, I had no questions about it. It all seemed to add up and make sense. I don't know if Nicola has any steer for us on it.
What do you mean by steer?
Well, are there any areas you think we should be looking at and thinking about and passing comment on?
Well, you've got the management accounts and budget analysis for the last financial year there. So that is now finalised.
Yeah.
So it gives you an opportunity to review the financial year and see how you did up against budget. Obviously, the biggest one that sticks out there is the playground. because I didn't have it in the budget quite correctly. But obviously you've had the breakdown of how the playground actually worked cost-wise. So hopefully you're satisfied there that despite the budget looking awful, the playground did actually come out in the wash.
Yes.
And so the management accounts and budget analysis for this year, obviously we're at the very beginning of the financial year, so there's not a lot to see there yet. Nothing particularly sticks out to be reported upon.
Okay, fair comment.
So Peter, yeah.
So the report then would say that in the last financial year we were £5,288 over budget, or £4,888 over budget for the year. We spent more, £4,888 in the full year.
Yes. Well, it's not necessarily over budget, but we spent more than we got by 4,888.
Yeah. Okay. So in the full year we spent, sorry, how much more than we got in?
Well, in the full year, if you count the restricted funds, £10,000 more than, so we spent £10,000 more than we received, but over 5,000 of that came out of the restricted funds. So that was money that was earmarked to be spent. Obviously, the main bulk of that was the paths using the SIL money. Yeah. So really, you're looking at the 4,888 being your overspend. So that's mainly comprised of the benches, which we're not budgeted for, and the extra bits on the playground. And of course, the travellers, which we're not budgeted for.
Okay.
So that affects our coming year, presumably.
Yeah, so that's then meant you've dipped into the reserves by that much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean that is fact, isn't it? That's what happened.
Yes.
Technically, your reserves were quite high going into.
That's true. Yes, I forgot that. Yes. So it's bringing it down to a more acceptable or recommended level.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, well, that is the fact. Those are the facts in front of us. And I say we are starting off the new financial year. So I'm going to propose that we accept the report. Can I have a second of that, please? Sharon, are you seconding or are you questioning?
No, sorry, I just want to ask a question about the SIL payment. Is that going into this financial year, the 1885?
The 1885, yes. So that's in this financial year as a receipt, but it goes into the restricted funds because there are only certain things you're allowed to spend that money on.
Okay, and are we allowed to know where that's come from, that SIL payment?
Hex copies.
Oh right, okay, thank you.
Okay, so the proposers we accept the report. Can I have a second of that, please? Looking around. Bit tardy, but thank you.
Sorry,
Sorry?
Who was first there?
It was a tight one. Kieran was first or second. Well, he was the first second, yes. Are all in favour of that accepting report? 1, 2, 3. Peter, you're happy? Yeah, fine. And myself. Good. Okay, thank you very much.
Again.
Sorry? Yes, Heather's got problems with the internet. Need to sort that out. But it's obviously a problem tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Quite a few people had problems with that. Okay, so to receive. Okay, so 21-24 is payments received. Nothing much to say, really. Is it just sort of information, really? As Sharon mentioned, that's the SIL payment, and we've got half our precept.
That's correct.
So that's where 21-24 is. Do I need to get that proposed to accept that?
No, I'll just minute it.
Okay, thank you. Right, let me move on to the approved payments. Standard stuff, as far as I can see. Anybody wish to raise any questions about that? Obviously, the last one, the insurance runs out tomorrow, I believe, or maybe Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Sorry?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday. So that will need to be sent in today, and obviously we know it's going to be 700 and whatever it was.
£698.76.
Was that the 3-year rate or
that's for the 3-year rate?
3 years. Okay, so that's going to go into the last box there. But the rest of it is quite standard stuff. Does anyone wish to question anything, or shall I propose that the signatories sign the online payments? I'm going to propose that. Can I have a seconder, please? Seconder. Oh, Ian. Ian seconding. All in favour? Fine. Unanimous. That's good. Thank you very much. Good. Okie doke. So, bearing in mind that that one has to be done by Wednesday, I don't know who Nicola's going to send the online payment to, but that'll need to be done tomorrow, I presume, won't it?
Yeah.
You do get an email from Nicola. We'll need to just sign that online payment off. Okay. Right. 2126 is councillors' items. Let's start at the bottom. Anne, I don't know how you're. Oh, I'm going to go up that way. Anne.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
I'm at the top.
Mine, you're not.
Oh, no items.
Okay, right. Ian?
No items, thank you.
Okay, Kieran?
Councillors' items. Can I just ask that somebody checks? Was it not supposed to be done for a limited amount of time? We were just going to try it.
What's
and
that?
Then councillors' items.
Oh, it's a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know whether we need to revote to have it put in place, but
Okay.
but no, I have no items other than just to mention that.
Just to mention about not having it. Yeah. Okay. Sharon?
Yeah, just two things. I'm really sorry, but I can't print off from Dropbox, so I'd prefer if I could have the councillors' supporting documents emailed. I don't know if that's difficult for you, Nicola, but and the other thing is, I just think while we're in this Zoom sort of meeting, I just think we all need to be kind to each other and just a bit more respect, respectful of each other's opinions, because it is very difficult because we're not face to face, isn't it? So that's all I want to say.
Okay, thank you much. Rob? No?
Nothing from me, Graham.
Okay, and nothing from me. Okay, that's great. Next meeting, July the 3rd, 4th, I suppose. Second. Putting a spot in, Nicola.
4th, I think.
It's fine. It'll be 5 weeks away, and then obviously we were break down for August, so we'll try and wrap things up for the summer holidays and things in July. Sharon, the meeting's closed, but carry on.
Sorry, I've got one more thing. The Hilton Summer Ball has been cancelled, of course, because Feast Week is not going ahead. So
fine, understandable. Yeah, that makes sense. Good. Okay then. Well, stay safe. Just despite the relaxing of the guidelines. So that's get out and see your family at short distance. Okay then. Thank you very much. See you soon.
Bye bye.
Thanks all.
Well done.
Bye bye.
Bye.